mock battles and arrogance. Lieutenant Aaron Ash Shepard stood with his arms crossed, watching the Valkyrie cadets march in flawless formation across the training field. Their heavy boots struck the ground in unison, a synchronized display of discipline and power. Their polished armor gleamed under Valkyrian Prime's twin suns, a testament to their belief in battlefield perfection. Ash had seen this before. Every alien species that thought themselves superior made the same mistake. They confused precision with effectiveness. A low chuckle came from beside him. Commander Drac Valkyris, towering at nearly 8 feet, observed Ash's human recruits scrambling between cover, firing their weapons in erratic bursts. The Valkyrie officer's golden eyes gleamed with amusement. "You call this warfare?" Drac's deep voice rumbled with amusement. Ash didn't look away. "I call it survival." "Which is the point, isn't it?" The reptilian commander smirked. "War is an art, human. Precision, control, honor. Your people move like frightened rodents. Rodents tend to outlive statues." Drac exhaled through his nostrils, the Valkyrie equivalent of a scoff. His cadets, standing in flawless formation behind him, chuckled, deep, guttural sounds of condescension. Ash rolled his shoulders, stepping forward. His own recruits, smaller, less intimidating than the hulking Valkyrie, stood nearby, sweating under their helmets. They'd been through rough drills before, but the constant mockery from the alien cadets was starting to wear on them. "All right, let's settle this," Ash said, raising his voice so both groups could hear. Simulated skirmish. Urban warfare scenario. Your perfect formations versus my undisciplined recruits. Full laser rounds, no live ammo, yet. Drac tilted his head. "You wish to test your chaos against my warriors?" "That's exactly what I want." The challenge was set. The abandoned combat arena, an old military installation repurposed for training, was a maze of crumbling buildings, shattered streets, and debris-ridden alleys. The perfect battleground to test two opposing philosophies. The Valkyrie cadets took their positions first, forming rigid, interlocking ranks. Their shields shimmered with energy barriers, their rifles aimed in a perfect arc of suppression fire. They would advance as a wall, an unstoppable force. Ash's recruits didn't wait for orders. They melted into the ruins, using cover, rooftops, and shadowed corridors. Some disappeared entirely, climbing into vantage points or hiding in ambush spots. From his elevated command station, Ash watched through a tactical feed. Drac stood beside him, arms folded, expression smug. "Observe," Drac said. "Watch how true warriors conquer the battlefield." Ash remained silent. The simulation started. The Valkyrie advanced with military precision, their steps measured, their formation unbroken. A wave of blue laser fire erupted from their rifles, striking walls and abandoned vehicles, keeping what they assumed were scattered human forces pinned down. Then the first explosion hit. A concussive charge, set by one of Ash's snipers, detonated along the Valkyrie's right flank. Smoke billowed. The cadets hesitated for a fraction of a second, long enough for a second strike. A human recruit burst from cover, firing in quick, unpredictable bursts before diving into an alley. "Disorder," Drac muttered, shaking his head. Ash hid his grin. "Adaptability." The Valkyrie adjusted, closing ranks, pushing forward in disciplined unison. Another mistake. Ash's recruits didn't fight in straight lines. They moved, constantly shifting, firing, vanishing. One dropped from a rooftop, fired twice, and disappeared before the Valkyrie could retaliate. Another used reflective surfaces to create the illusion of movement, drawing their fire into empty space. The Valkyrie's perfect formation became a liability. They were predictable. Human unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Drac's smirk began to fade. His cadets, despite their superior numbers and equipment, were taking simulated fatal hits at an alarming rate. Frustration crept into their movements. The once perfect line cracked as individuals broke formation to chase elusive enemies, exactly what Ash wanted. A final maneuver sealed their fate. A flanking unit of human recruits, unseen until now, emerged behind them. In a real battle, it would have been a massacre. The simulation ended. The Valkyrie had lost. Drac exhaled slowly. His golden eyes flicked to Ash. "You fight like cowards." "No," Ash said. "We fight to win." The tension between them lingered, but before another word could be exchanged, a deep boom rolled across the training grounds. The ground trembled. The sky darkened. Ash's instincts kicked in. He grabbed his comm control. What the hell was that? Static. Then a garbled transmission. "Not part, system override, incoming hostiles." Ash's stomach dropped. From the horizon, dark shapes emerged, swarms of rogue war drones, relics of an old AI rebellion. Their crimson optics flared, their plasma cannons whirred to life. The simulation was over. The real fight had begun. Drac's smug expression vanished. For the first time, Ash saw something else in the commander's eyes. Uncertainty. "Commander," Ash said, already issuing orders to his recruits, "your cadets better be ready to learn real quick." The first drone opened fire. The battlefield erupted into chaos. Live rounds and harsh lessons. The first plasma bolt struck the ground near Ash's feet, sending shards of molten rock into the air. The explosion's concussive force slammed into his chest, but he barely flinched. Years of combat had dulled his reaction to incoming fire. His recruits scattered on instinct, taking cover behind the ruins. The Valkyrie did not. Drac's cadets hesitated, gripping their rifles in tight formation, their rigid battle doctrine struggling to adjust. A second bolt landed dead center in their ranks, and a Valkyrie soldier was thrown backward, his armor scorched. He wasn't dead, yet. But the drones weren't using training rounds. This was real. "Cover! Now!" Ash bellowed. His voice cut through the chaos, but the Valkyrie only stiffened. Drac clenched his jaw, shouting, "Hold your ranks! Defensive position!" Ash cursed under his breath. They still didn't get it. A war drone swooped low, its metallic frame gleaming in the dimming sunlight. Its shoulder-mounted cannon pulsed, locking onto the clustered Valkyrie formation. Too predictable. Too easy. Ash didn't think. He acted. He lunged, grabbing Drac by the arm and yanking him down just as the cannon fired. A beam of searing energy sliced through the air, carving a smoldering trench where Drac had been standing. Behind them, another explosion sent two Valkyrie sprawling. Ash turned, grabbing Drac by the collar. "Your cadets are dead if they don't move." Drac shoved him away, his golden eyes burning with anger. But before he could bark another order, reality struck. The drones didn't hesitate. They adjusted, targeted, fired. The Valkyrie's rigid structure wasn't defense, it was a death sentence. One of Drac's soldiers broke rank, diving for cover. Then another. The formation crumbled, but those who adapted survived. Ash wasted no time. He activated his comm shepherd to all units. "Fall back to Sector 7. Bunker down." His recruits didn't need a second command. They were already moving, using the environment to shield their retreat. The remaining Valkyrie, disoriented and wounded, hesitated, until Drac finally snapped to reality. "Move," he roared. "Follow the humans." It wasn't a full admission of defeat, but it was enough. The surviving Valkyrie scrambled behind cover, breaking into smaller units as the war drones rained fire. Ash and Drac ran side by side, ducking behind a shattered transport vehicle as a drone strafed past, its autocannon chattering. Sparks flew as the metal hull melted under the barrage. Ash peeked over. The drones weren't stopping. More were emerging from the ruined horizon, swarming like locusts. This wasn't just a malfunction. Something had activated them. "We need to reach the supply bunker," Ash muttered. "If those drones are still operational, we might find something there to shut them down." Drac wiped blood from his brow, his expression grim. "If we make it that far." They ran through the ruins, staying low as plasma fire erupted around them. Ash's recruits led the way, guiding the remaining Valkyrie toward a collapsed overpass that would funnel them toward the bunker's hidden entrance. A drone spotted them, adjusting its trajectory, cannons heating up. "Sniper!" Ash barked. A shot rang out. One of his recruits, Private Calloway, had perched atop a broken comms tower. Her rifle kicked, and a high-impact round punched through the drone's sensor core, sending it spiraling into the dirt. Drac watched in silence. "Your soldiers fight like shadows," he muttered. Ash reloaded his rifle. "And yours fight like statues. You tell me who's still standing." Drac didn't reply. The bunker loomed ahead, a reinforced structure half buried under rubble. The moment they reached the entrance, Ash waved his team forward. "Inside. Go!" The remaining troops poured in. Ash was the last one through, slamming the reinforced door behind him as another plasma blast scorched the ground outside. The thick metal held, for now. The interior was dimly lit, the air thick with dust and stale oxygen. Rusted crates lined the walls, remnants of an abandoned Terran outpost. "Barricade that entrance," Ash ordered. His recruits immediately got to work, stacking crates and debris against the door. Drac paced, tension rolling off him. "This is disgraceful," he muttered. "We should be out there, fighting head-on." Ash gave a humorless laugh. "Right. That's worked great so far." Drac's fists clenched. "We were unprepared. Had I known." "You'd have done the same thing," Ash cut in. "Because you don't fight wars. You train for them. You follow rules, formations, tactics designed for an enemy that plays fair." Drac glared. "And humans don't?" Ash held his gaze. "No. Because war doesn't." A heavy silence settled. Drac's pride warred with the truth. His cadets, what was left of them, sat against the walls, their once pristine armor scorched, their confidence shattered. Finally, Drac exhaled, shoulders sagging. "What now?" Ash turned to his team. "We see what's still operational in this bunker. If these drones were triggered remotely, there's gotta be a failsafe." His engineer, Patel, was already working on a nearby console. "Sir, I think I've got something." Ash moved beside him, scanning the flickering display. An old command prompt scrolled with red warning symbols. "Looks like a remote activation signal," Patel said. "Not an accident, someone turned them on." Ash's jaw tightened. That changed everything. Drac peered over his shoulder. "You mean this was a trap?" Ash's mind raced. If someone had deliberately reactivated these drones, it meant there was a bigger enemy at play. And worse, they were still out there. He straightened, gripping his rifle. "We need to shut them down. Fast." Drac nodded, his expression hardening. "Then tell me what must be done." For the first time since the fight began, Ash saw something different in the commander's eyes. Not arrogance. Respect. And, perhaps, the faintest glimmer of fear. Outside, the drones regrouped, their red optics glowing in the night. The next attack was coming. And this time, no one would be holding back. No more mock battles. The bunker trembled as another explosion rocked the surface above. Dust and debris rained from the ceiling, rattling the dimly lit chamber. The war drones weren't stopping. If anything, they were adjusting, adapting to the resistance. Their relentless assault wasn't the result of a simple activation error. Someone wanted them to finish the job. Ash stood over Patel's shoulder, watching the scrolling data on the flickering console. His engineer worked fast, hands flying over the controls, sweat beading on his forehead. "This is bad," Patel muttered. "The activation signal isn't just remote, it's broadcasting from a hidden relay. These drones are linked to a central hub. If we don't take it out, they'll keep coming." Ash exhaled sharply. "Where's the relay?" Patel tapped a few keys, and a rough map of the battlefield materialized on the screen. A single red marker blinked ominously 1 kilometer north, deep inside a collapsed industrial sector. Drax studied the display. That area was deemed too unstable for training exercises. Ash smirked. Looks like someone disagreed. Drax's expression darkened. He turned to his remaining cadets, their once polished armor now dented and scorched. They had fought, bled, and lost, far from the perfection they had believed in. And yet, they still stood. "This is our chance," Ash said, facing both his recruits and the Valkyrie. "We cut the head off the snake, and we walk out of here alive. Otherwise, those drones tear through this bunker, and none of us leave." Drax clenched his jaw. "You propose we abandon defense and go on the offensive?" Ash nodded. "Exactly." Drax hesitated for only a moment before straightening. "Then we do it together." For the first time, there was no hesitation in his words. The bunker door groaned as the barricades were pushed aside. Outside, the battlefield was a burning wasteland. Drone wreckage littered the ground, but more hovered in the distance, scanning for survivors. Their red optics gleamed in the darkness, sweeping the ruins with deadly precision. Ash signaled to his squad, and they split into small teams, moving fast through the rubble. The Valkyrie, still adjusting to this chaotic style of combat, followed suit. Drax moved with his warriors, his large frame surprisingly agile as he led them between collapsed structures. The plan was simple: reach the relay, disable the signal, survive. But nothing was ever that easy. A low mechanical hum filled the air. A drone patrol approached from the east, scanning the ruins with high-powered sensors. If they were spotted, it would be over before they got close. Ash turned to Calloway, his sniper. "How fast can you drop them?" She steadied her rifle against a cracked support beam, exhaled, and fired. The first drone's sensor array shattered, sending it spiraling into a wrecked vehicle. The second one detected the attack instantly, swiveling toward their position. Ash swore. "Move!" The team scattered just as the drone fired. A concentrated plasma beam carved through the ruins, incinerating everything in its path. A Valkyrie warrior was nearly caught in the blast, but one of Ash's recruits, Corbin, yanked him down just in time. Drax witnessed the act, eyes narrowing slightly. Maybe for the first time, he saw them as more than just undisciplined fighters. The drone adjusted, preparing to fire again, until another sniper round punched through its core. It dropped lifelessly to the dirt. Ash tapped his comm. "Nice shot, Calloway." "Still breathing, sir." The team pushed forward, weaving through collapsed buildings and shattered infrastructure. The relay tower loomed ahead, a rusted, skeletal structure barely standing among the ruins. It pulsed with energy, the source of the drone's relentless aggression. Ash crouched behind cover, scanning the area. "How bad is it?" Patel checked his scanner. "Worse than bad. Automated turrets. Proximity mines. And," he cursed, "heat signatures. We're not alone." Ash's gut tightened. "Enemy soldiers?" Patel nodded. "They must be the ones who activated the drones." Drax's fists clenched. "Cowards. They set this trap and watched from a distance while we fought their machines." "Then let's return the favor," Ash said. They split into teams. Ash's squad would disable the relay while Drax's warriors cleared the perimeter. No formations, no rigid tactics, just survival. Ash's recruits moved fast, using debris as cover. A turret swiveled toward them, but Corbin tossed an EMP charge. The device pulsed, and the turret sputtered, its sensors fried. The Valkyrie warriors, now moving with more fluidity, flanked enemy positions. Drax's blade flashed as he tore through the first hostile, his raw strength overwhelming the surprised operative. His cadets followed, no longer hesitating, no longer waiting for orders that didn't fit the battlefield. The enemy fought hard, but they hadn't expected resistance. They had relied on the drones to finish the job. Now, they were the ones on the defensive. Ash reached the relay console and ripped open the panel. A mess of outdated circuitry and jury-rigged components. Patel joined him, hands flying over the controls. "Can you shut it down?" Ash asked. Patel's brow furrowed. "Not fast enough. But I can overload it." "Do it." Bullets and plasma bolts whizzed past as the firefight raged. Drax's warriors fought alongside Ash's recruits, covering each other, moving as one. The divide between them had vanished. "Overload in 30 seconds. Patel shouted. Ash turned to Drax. "Time to leave." The Valkyrie commander nodded. "Fall back." The remaining enemies scrambled as they realized what was happening. Some tried to stop the overload, but Calloway cut them down with precision shots. Then the relay detonated. A shockwave rippled outward, tearing through the ruins. The drones faltered midair, their red optics flickering before shutting down entirely. The remaining hostiles had no choice but to retreat. The battle was over. Ash stood among the wreckage, watching the last drone crash into the dirt. Silence settled over the battlefield. Drax approached, his golden eyes studying the destruction. "Your way of war is effective." Ash smirked. "Told you." Drax exhaled, glancing at his surviving warriors, scarred, battered, but alive. "I was wrong about you." "About humans." Ash shrugged. "You're not the first." Drax extended a hand. Ash took it, gripping tight. No mock battles. No condescension. Just respect. In the end, it hadn't been formations or discipline that won the fight. It had been the will to survive.